Bé, moltes gràcies.
Hello, thank you very much for staying with us.
After the enlightening keynote we had about the French prisons, so it is my pleasure to introduce three architects in this panel. They are active members of this European project in which this conference is framed, communicating Dissonant heritage. We will start with Dora Ivanova. Thank you for coming, Dora. She's from Bulgaria, is a founder and director of the Buzludzha project foundation. She works actively for the cause since 2015, I think, already 10 years ago. And at the moment, she's the main coordinator of the international project for conservation, management, and emergency stabilization of the mosaics of this monument you have on the screen, Buzludzha. Then we will continue with Alessia Zampini. She's a researcher and adjunct professor at the Università of Bologna. She has been involved also in the conservation of the Forlì concentration camp, a place that we know well at our observatory. And her PhD focused on the impact of the Second World War on the monument preservation in the Emilia-Romagna region. Thank you, Alessia, for being with us as well. And last but not least, Valentina Gili. She holds a master's degree in architecture as well from the University of Bologna. And she was also participating in a project led by the Italian Ministry of Culture to catalog the post-war historical buildings in Emilia-Romagna. And currently she's a teaching tutor for courses on historic buildings conservation in Ravenna. Okay, so thank you to the three of you, and let's proceed with the presentations of the cases you just brought. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's working good. Yeah, so first of all, hello from me. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very thankful to our partners from EuroRom for organizing this event so professionally, and I'm very thankful to be able to exchange and to work together on this project on communicating dissonant heritage. So Jordi, David, Ricard, thank you very much for being really so welcoming here, but also that we can learn from your vast experience in dissonant heritage from so many projects, because we are focused on this one building, and we are really glad to learn from the experience of EuroRom and also of the experience of University of Bologna. So I'm very happy that we are here today here, but also within this 2 years project that we are working on, and we are now exactly in the middle. So yeah, I will be telling more about it in a while. So my presentation will be about Buzludzha, what is this building, what we are doing there, and what is the specific project on dissonant heritage. And I'm not alone here. I'm very happy to be here with my colleague, Stiljana Tasheva, who is doing the communication, coordination of events and partnerships, and much more at the foundation. That we can do all those different projects related to this amazing building. So, the Buzludzha, as you can see on the picture, it's really extraordinary place and architecture. And me as an architect, I couldn't stay still looking at this place. So it is located in the middle of Bulgaria, exactly in the geographic center, which makes it like 3 hours from Sofia and 3 hours through the seaside. And this is 1,500 meter altitude on the top of a mountain peak of the Balkan mountain, which is not a very regular place to put a monument on, and which attracts really a lot of attention. As you can see, it's striking views also from there to the nature. However, this place is not, here you can see one more picture of it. It's not just a striking architecture, it's a symbol. It's a very strong symbol in Bulgaria of the communist past. So it's big burden, and it's the big challenge. But for us, it's a big opportunity to be able to talk about this past, which is not really discussed in a structured and educational way in Bulgaria. It is still in the emotional nostalgic or traumatic experiences of the families, but it is still not really structured discussion into the museums, into the education systems in Bulgaria to talk about communism, what it really was, what did we learn, what are the lessons and what we don't want to repeat, so that there are no totalitarian regimes and that we value democracy and understand really to value it. So this is, yeah, we think this abandoned place that attracts so much attention, it's a perfect case study to be able to develop such dialogue and to be example for many other abandoned sites in Bulgaria and in Europe that can be reassessed and reused. So, and something very important, so the goal is not just to preserve it, or not to restore it. The aim is not to restore it at its former glory and appearance, but to reuse it, to keep the traces of time, and to be able to learn all these facets and all these multi-layered stories that are attached to this building. So to start with the stories, this building was built on exactly this place because it was historically important for Bulgaria. It was the place for a rebel fight in 1868 of Hadži Dimitar. This is one of the big names, big rebels for Bulgarians. This was a fight against the Ottomans, and it was 10 years before the liberation of Bulgaria from the Ottoman rule. So this fight was not successful. They were all defeated at that point, but it was very important for Bulgarians and the act of heroism. And because of that, every year there were commemorations on this site, and in 1891, the Social Democratic Workers' Party was founded at exactly this place because they wanted to connect to the recognized and beloved heroes of the past. And then later, the party decided, after coming into power, the Bulgarian Communist Party then later decided to create a symbol right there to connect the history of liberation and the history of communism and the history of the fights of the party at exactly this place. So the building was built in 1981. As you can see, very, very young building. And it took 8 years to construct. There were 6,000 people working on its construction, and it was built to last forever. With the idea, with this architecture, with the mosaics inside, with its forms, the whole idea is to be this futuristic place. That's why, going back, that's why this look of a UFO, I mean, they were looking into the future and hoping or trusting or wanting to give the propaganda message that communism is forever, and this is its form in a way. So, and how the building functioned actually is that many people think it was the headquarters of the party. That's not the case. This was a public building. People will come here without entrance fee, but with previous registration. And at every 4 hours, about up to 500 people will enter into the building and will marvel at the mosaics and will be told stories of the Communist Party, its past and present. So it was clearly a very propaganda place where the party could show its own glory. And this place that was built forever, or the eternity in the imagination of the party, just lasted for 8 years. And after the end of the regime in 1989, the building was abandoned. In the early 90s, the last employees were released, and with this the looting started, which was known fact and which nobody prevented. So the first thing to happen is that the roof was out of copper, or the covering was copper sheet, which was very precious material, obviously, so it was looted, and then everything that could be reused inside was stolen. And this was in the period until 2010, more or less. And at this time, it felt totally into oblivions, and there was no attention to this building. However, because of this striking view and because of internet, the building started to be very popular. First under urbex tourists who wanted to explore unknown places and forgotten or abandoned places, and it goes in all the rankings for the most beautiful, most striking abandoned building on Earth. It is also top 1 monument in TripAdvisor in Bulgaria, and it became one of the 7 most endangered heritage sites in Europe. It was in Hollywood movies and in music videos of pop stars like Rita Ora. It's on the cover of many books, and it became slowly from this abandoned, forgotten, the place for the eternity, then the totally forgotten place, then it has a third life of this internet star that is very unknown but striking. And this is also where the media got interested with all those photographies within the internet. And the media were interested also before the start of the project, so it was my master thesis in 2014, and then the foundation, I founded the foundation in 2015. And afterwards, there was a lot of media interest, like Discovery Channel and National Geographic. There were all several times there showing what we do. And I think this media interest is also because it is the story upside down. If we had, I understand this now, 10 years after, I couldn't see this before, but if before the totalist regime was oppressing with propaganda, top down. Now this is an absolutely grassroots initiative of an architecture student who wants to save a heritage place somehow. And there is a community, there is teams and people, so it's a civilian initiative now to preserve it, the opposite way how it was constructed. And all this on its side attracts a lot of visitor attention. So we know that more than 50,000 people go there every year, although it is closed and there is no information and there is no facilities and there is no public transport. So on the weekends we have about 1,000 people there. And this is a big factor, first of all, because obviously it has a lot of potential. And second, I think it's very important that these people don't get any information. They go there, make a picture, tell each other wrong stories, which are not accurate to the history of the place or to the meaning of the place, and go back. And that is provoking us to talk about not just, we're architects, but to talk not just about preserving the place, but filling the place with meaning and stories, which is the task of this project. On communicating dissonant heritage. So what do we say to these people? We need to tell them what this place is, and what are the messages is not an easy question, and it's definitely not one-sided. But we started elsewhere. We started as I said, the foundation started 2015 with a lot of communication, a lot of discussion, exhibitions. But the first big project that gathered a team and did a thorough research was started in 2019 with the Getty funding of the Getty Foundation from Los Angeles, with this conservation management plan where more than 100 experts from 10 countries took part, and we were very happy to be able to do all the research connected to construction, to the surfaces, to the architecture, the archive research, the research of so we did 3D scanning of the building, new drawings, to the utilities, what's there, what are the installations, and all the physical dimensions of this place, of course, also some historical basic analysis connected to the architecture. And part of this was also to think of what could be the possible future of this place. And as mentioned, the idea is not to restore it, but to leave all the scars of this place, which is telling a very strong story, and many layers to that. But also, as it is here in the Modello prison, to be able to tell the story in a museological way, but to be able to also to give opportunities for functions of this place with cultural events throughout the year. With the opportunity people to go to the top of the tower, with a lounge in between, and with many different, I mean, this event space that could be used, it's for 500 people. So we think it's a great place for discussions and topics connected to the recent past, but to also further cultural events that can be hosted there. And then, so thinking big, what could be this? This could be, of course, a world cultural destination, but we had to start small, from the smallest piece and the smallest ingredient, the pixel of this building, which is the mosaic, the tesserae. And the tesserae, we have, I think, 2 million tesserae, something like this, into 1,000 square meters of space. 1/3 was already missing, 1/3 was about to fall, and we were super stressed about that. We know there is no time to do the roof project, to fund it, to implement it, to get all the permissions. Until that time, those 1/3 of mosaics will be completely gone. So we had to go very fast, and we reapplied for funding from the Getty Foundation, and together with ICOMOS Germany, with the Technical University of Munich, the Academy of Art in Bulgaria, and our partners from Greece and Switzerland, the Adrasis and the university. I mean, as you can see, we had restorers from 4 countries gathered to find solutions for those mosaics because they are super new and in super bad condition, which was a big challenge. So we were working on that for 3 consecutive years, first with Getty funding, which was over. Then we had to find another ways how to continue, and the way was there was a campaign called Adopt a Mosaic. So local people and companies adopted a very specific mosaic, and with this paid for its covering. So we created shelters to stop the water and the snow, the freezing, which was a main problem. So we could continue with that, with this funding. And then at that point, 2021, the building became a monument of culture. Finally, so afterwards we were able to apply for funding from the state, and we continue with the mosaic on the ceiling, because there are mosaics not on only on the wall, but on the ceiling. We could continue on that. And we could go to the next phase after securing the most endangered part, the mosaics, which we were very happy from the results because really the destruction stopped. Afterwards, we were thinking, okay, the most important thing is to involve people, even at this very early stage, to allow people to go inside, to learn all those 50,000 and more. So we created pathways, we cleaned the building. The most hard part was to clean the roof because it was falling apart, all the debris. I mean, when there was wind, they would just fall down, creating danger for everybody there. So we were able to clean tons of debris and to create pathways and some very basic information materials and pavilions. However, this afterwards, this was a great idea that everybody adopted on the different levels, but we have some political challenges in Bulgaria. We had 8 times elections in the last 3 years or so. So we had to deal with new people in power, so this took longer. And so we are still into clarifying how exactly this can happen, and we hope that it can happen soon and people can go inside. But while this is ongoing and still our goal, we were thinking, okay, we want to involve people also outside. We want to show them that this future of this place is possible, even if it is not possible to be inside of the main hall. So we designed and started organizing a festival, Open Buzludzha Festival, with a very clear message, Open Buzludzha. That's what we want. But it became big. It became, in the last edition, last year, gathered 2,000 people, which is starting to make it like one of the big festivals around in Bulgaria. And it is, from the one side, our main topic is to have our daily program. Last year we had 10 different activities where people can learn about the place, can give insights, can be involved. So we have provocative questions, difficult questions. We make them discuss difficult topics among themselves. So this is the daily program and different tours around. But also we have 3D mapping on the building, which is giving it a totally new view. I mean, people, because you know when you have something in front of you, you always see it and you stop seeing it at some point. But with this 3D mapping, we really gave new life and new understandings of this place to the young people and the local people. And there is also a music program with, there were like 20 DJs and 10 music bands on 3 stages, so yeah. And besides, so the festival is the place where we involve the broader public, the young public, and like everybody who is interested in this place. And then we have also the event for the expert talks, or where we want to discuss what is really in-depth, we want to have in-depth discussion, not just with the broader public, but with the people who are experts into that. With our Heritage Forum, the last one we had 1 month ago, and I think this is also a very, very important ingredient into gathering alliance of partners. And talking about that, the project right now, I'm very happy that we have this alliance of partners with Eurome, with the University of Bologna, with Atrium and Euroclio, and with also the Dissonant Heritage Action Group, that we could start this path into inclusive process for communicating dissonant heritage. And it is a project that started with, or it has events. It's a main focus, it's organizing events like the one today. But the backbone of this project is very important research. It starts with oral histories, which we from our side, from the Buzludzha project and the University of Bologna developed, and we were coordinating this, developing it. We just finalized this step. So we were able to interview for Buzludzha about 50 people with in-depth interviews, which are about 1 hour, more or less. And we were able to involve many different people. So very short summary of results is that all those people, which are so different from each other, they all want the building to be preserved in one or another way. So here's where everybody's on the same path. But then the path is dividing into many. So what should happen? There are so many different views on that. So the people, we interviewed many people who were working on the building, who were, for example, creating the mosaics. There were big teams of many people working on it, as I said, these 6,000 people. And if we talk to such a person, I mean, these people are, obviously they had a good relation with the party to be able to work on this building. And obviously it was their youth and most powerful time in life. So they're rather nostalgic, and they want to restore the building as it was. So it is very popular understanding in Bulgaria also that preserving means restoring as it was. And when you ask them, however, if they want this because they believe in the ideology of the place, no, this is not the case. But it is just, it reminds them of this time, and it reminds them of this bright, wide, impressive place that they used to be at or create or be part of. And they miss this glamour, let's say. And seeing the decay for them is, it's hurting to see something that they put effort into it. So this is the one group. But there is another group that can not even imagine a future. I mean, they are so used to this place being abandoned and being a ruin that they cannot afford to think that it could be different. And they don't even think it's right to think what it could be. So this was another group of people. We have a very small, minor group of people in Bulgaria who want to destroy this place, but I think this group is still connected to the idea that it is either fully preserved as it was, or it should be destroyed. And for us, this group of people is very important to be able to communicate that there is a lot in between, and this should be an educational place. So once this is communicated, we find also common understandings with them. So as you can see, was also interesting in this campaign. There were very powerful messages However, it is not very fairly distributed. From the one side, we were thinking that if we do a very big campaign to involve people, we will get a lot of response, which was not the case. So we can see that much more you have to go one-on-one and ask people and get their trust so they can tell you their personal story. And also, we found out that it was very easy to find people who are proud of being part of this construction, but we could not really find easily people who were part of the destruction or who talk about the destruction at all because they feel guilty. And even if they didn't do anything, they feel guilty about that. So it was very difficult to find people like this. So this is, I'm looking also forward to the presentation of the colleagues from the University of Bologna to tell their experience of collecting oral history. As said, this is like the first ingredient of our project. The second is focus groups. We already did some, and we are about to do some in the next weeks, very soon. So we will invite people to talk about into-depth specific topics like memory and identity, socialism and democracy, art and inspiration, and many more. So this is to come, and we are going to do also some research on historical, sociological, political, and anthropological topics related to the place. And what is to come is actually our Dissonant Heritage online Agora, where I want to invite you all. This will be on the 28th of May. And it has a very rich program where we are going to present intermediate results of this project, and we are going to do workshops on the specific topics like oral histories, strategies for exhibitions from EUROM, and how to develop initiative and so on. And there will be a marketplace with many different participants with their Dissonant Heritage project, so it is also a platform for exchange on international level. It's absolutely online, so you are very much welcome. And at the end, I want to share actually what is the vision, what comes next. On the one side, after all this research that it's ongoing, the results for Buzludzha will be collected into a digital twin. This will be a 3D model of the building where people will be able to go inside and learn all those stories. So the idea is that the people who are going on site at Buzludzha can easily, with their phones, learn about this place, but people also at home can experience it not just through scrolling through a site, but having a digital experience, listen to stories, to video recordings of those oral histories, to those focus groups. And we want to ask people to participate actively, to choose between options, to write their reviews and feedback and their story. So this is the result that we are expecting to have in 1 year from now, more or less. And the other very big topic about Buzludzha is that we are finally about to develop the project for the roof. With EU funding, we are expecting this to happen, to start. I mean, it's a 3-year project that's going to start this year, to recover the building with a new roof and new windows, so it is a secured and consolidated space. And we are very happy that we work in parallel, not for the construction and the physicality of the building, but also for the meaning and the messages, which we think it's crucial for Dissonant Heritage and for communicating them even before they are available, preserved, and so on. So this is the project, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for the attention.
Buenos dias, good morning everyone. I am Alessia Zampini, and together with Valentina, we are presenting this work about the former military college of Aeronautics in Forlì, so one of the cities which is very close to Predappio, so the birthplace of Mussolini. This work is a work that we started thanks exactly to this server project that Dora described before, and also is the reason why we are here today. And also I would like to thank everyone for involving Rome, for the organization, and also Dora since the beginning to involving us into this amazing project. Of course, we are not the only one working on the project. We also have the contribution of Leila Signorelli, which is leading the group, and Francesco Liparini, which is taking care of some of the collection of oral history that we would like to present you today. What was about the project and why we decided to start with this aeronautical college? We are conservator architect, so for a very long time, for all our background, we still are, and we were in relation to this project, very much related in investigating the construction history, the kind of material that were used, how the architectural history of the building from its construction, from its ideation, started since the beginning. But then we started to realize that in this story, the history that we were trying to learn and get in depth, we were missing a part that was very important. Because this building, let's say, on the contrary to what we saw in Buzludzha, continued to be used during the war period. It never got abandoned, and is still, now today, is very well preserved. And inside this building, there are some issues, some decoration that are very controversial. I will show them in a moment. So we started to ask ourselves, what is happening in this city where we had a lot of damnatio memoriae on other buildings, a lot of destruction, a lot of even abandonment related to other buildings? What happened specifically here, and why this building is still so well preserved, and also this decoration that can be kind of controversial are still preserved. So starting from this question, we started to realize that probably this idea of collecting oral history and understanding what was the perception among the communities and what would have provided us a very much deeper understanding and knowledge of the site. So what was basically the story of the site? It was built in 1941. It was built by and designed, the whole building, by Cesare Valle. Cesare Valle was a very important architect at that moment because he was responsible for the creation and the design of all the buildings related, not all of them, but the most important building related to the, let's say, public architecture in Forlì. So in this city, very close to Predappio. Let's say it's the bigger city close to Predappio. Predappio is a very small town. It's very small municipality. So Forlì was the city of reference also in the construction of the myth of the origin of the Duce, of the Mussolini ideology. So he was involved in the construction. This place is very much connected to the new highway that was ensuring the entrance from the railway station to the city center. So it's placed along this very long boulevard where all these public buildings are placed. And they decided to dedicate it to the history of Icarus. Why the history of Icarus, and why it was so important, this aeronautical college, and why it was related at that time to the history, the personal history of Mussolini. Because in that same year, the son of Mussolini died, Bruno Mussolini died in an airplane crash. So because of this reason, this relationship with the pilot, with the aeronautical sector was very important even for the family. So this is why they decided to dedicate to the memory of the son of Mussolini. But also the idea of Icarus was also important for propaganda reason, because Icarus was not considered, starting from the Nunzio experience on, not like the guys who never was able to reach the sun, but he turned the perspective. He was the guy that was so moved from his ambitions and inspiration that he was able to dream to get to the sun, so, and even to start flying. So according to this idea, let's say, to promote this inspirational feeling, and also to put inside the young generation this idea and this inspiration to be able to fight for the country, to fight for Italy, they tried to organize and decorate all the interior courtyard with the history of the flight, trying to celebrate all the achievement that the Italian aeronautics were able to do, and the pilots, or the single pilots were able to achieve during the history of flight. So there are some, as you can see, it's a black and white marble, not marble, it's a limestone, specific limestone, black and white. It's all in black and white, except from one specific piece of mosaics that I will show you in a moment. And all the series, all the cycle were exactly meant to inspire in the propaganda this idea of, let's say, trying to aspire to the higher, and also to be very courageous and brave fighters for the country. Other parts, for example, these are part of the drawings, all the major achievement or the top-ranking achievement that the Italian had during the time. So, and this was exactly to express, let's say, the ability to celebrate the ability of the Italian people. So it was very embedded in the propaganda discourse of that time. That's, for example, one of the only part of the mosaics which is in color, and you can see I don't know if you can see from the screen, the green mice, the 3 mice. Also, in this case, was a celebration of one of the elite bombardiers, Italian elite bombardiers, that had this kind of a symbol on their side. They were called the Sorci Verdi, which means the green mice. And thinks that they were so powerful and literally the elite of the aeronautics at that time, that even now today we have this way of saying, I will show you the green mice, or ti farò vedere I sorci verdi, which means that if you were in the position to see their symbol on the side of a plane, you were in great danger, because this bombardier had put you in their target, so you would have probably been killed or attacked by their action. So in this very, let's say, those were celebrating the achievement, but there are also some part of writings that are literally the expression of some Mussolini discourse, or some of the, for example, D'Annunzio way of celebration and incitation to take action into the war or to fight for Italy once again. So really, with this idea of creating the will of among the younger generation to take part into the and to join also the fascist. Not, in this case, not only the party, but more being able to fight for their own country. So to, for example, the way is credere, obbedire, combattere, so to believe, obey, and fight. And so we started to ask, okay, but if this is the situation, it's very clear that there are a lot of propaganda messages inside this kind of mosaics. But why is it still so perfectly preserved till nowadays? Even if no campaign of specific restoration was done during the years, just minor maintenance element, but all, let's say, not recurrent or not as much frequent as it would have been in other situations. So, and that was completely the opposite to what happened to Buzludzha. So we saw that it was a very good, interesting point of connection to start understanding what could have what could have been the story. We did, during our SERV project, the first workshop with the DEINA associations. In this case, DEINA is an NGO that is working on the site together with Atrium. Atrium is also a partner of this project. Atrium is the cultural root of Council of Europe, which is dealing with all architecture from totalitarian regimes. And they've been working for more than 10 years now on this kind of topic. So their perspective was very interesting for us and helping us in understanding and helping this actualization of the monument. So making us posing the proper question to ourselves and also to the research, understanding what were the processes in the past and what these mosaics can mean today, and what can be the actualization that we can have with the students that are still living in this place, because it is still a school today, so it's used as a school. So this is how basically it started the SERV project. We decided to say, okay, probably we need to work with oral history, but in order to do that, we need to not only take the architectural perspective, but we need also the historian and some other perspective that have to collect with us the methodology or the way of dealing with this oral history.
Okay. Can you hear me? Maybe? No?
Now, oh, okay. Okay, now we move on a more practical aspect, let's say, and that's how we worked on the oral histories guidelines, because we tried to work on some guidelines that might be applied in our cases, but also in other dissonant heritage cases. We worked with ISO, which is an Italian Association of Oral History, to get some suggestions from people who worked on this topic since a long time. And if you use your phone for the QR code, you will get the file, the document, that obviously is a preliminary work, and maybe it will change, maybe it will be implemented going on. And for example, we only want to show you the structure of this document and all the parts that we thought that were important inside this kind of work of collecting and preserving the memories regarding this place, but also other dissonant heritage places. For example, we start with general recommendations that are, we can say that they are focused on three really important keywords that are neutrality, sensitiveness, and as Huarderdi said before, empathy. Because neutrality is always important in collecting histories, obviously, because we wanted to create a sort of mosaic of voices, so plural narratives kept together to better understand and enhance the knowledge of the building. In this case, for example, we can see that when a place is dissonant, you also have to put in place empathy, because there are uncomfortable memories and such negative meanings and perception from people. Going on, we also put in this document the way to collect and preserve the memories, the videos, and all the sources, and also the guidelines to decide who to interview, who can interview, because when you have to decide who to interview, you can think about the age, the gender, the personal history related to the site. Is this person connected to the history of the site, or is someone who was born later and doesn't know about it? And for example, regarding who can interview them, you have to think about people who can make them feel at ease. And so sometimes we saw that it is better to take people who has the same age, for example, or the same gender, to make them feel more free and also more at ease to speak about themselves. Because obviously in these architectures are not only the material part, but also a part of the history of the person and of their families in some ways. Also, you have to think, when you have to work on these cases, you also have to think about which kind of interview must be the most, could be the most interesting one. You can do focus groups or individual interviews, for example. As regards for the where to interview part, we discovered that is really useful and meaningful to interview people in front of the dissonant heritage, the dissonant architecture, but it could be also uncomfortable for some of them. So for example, some of the suggestions we worked with ISO were to first talk with people in another place where they feel comfortable, so their office, their workplace, or their house, and only later bring them on the place in front of the dissonant place. For example, ISO also does some paths coming from to gradually be more near to the place and recalling memories during the way. And this is very useful sometimes. Okay, and later you will find some technical and legal things about the process. Okay, and just to finish, we can say that in our case, for example, we decided to do 2 focus groups and personal interviews through a survey that was online. During the focus groups, we decided to talk with professional tourist guides and to teachers. Teachers, because as Alessia Zampini said before, that this place is nowadays still a school. And students walk all days in front of these mosaics without that anyone explained them their meaning and their history. And so we asked them how students react to being exposed every day to these old propaganda meanings. And for example, also how they would suggest to introduce people and students to the meanings. And professional tourist guides, for example, said that, well, they talked about the strategies they use to contextualize the heritage they are presenting. And for example, they said that they have some problems with people that came and don't want to visit some kinds of architectures because of their past. So it's still a controversial theme. And so it is important to gather the opinions of the local stakeholders to better understand how people actually perceive the building and how to make them readable from future generations. And also, we discovered that it's more important, well, you have to prepare your questions you want to do during the interviews, but it's more important to be flexible and to follow their memories and their discourse while they're talking, because this can lead to more intimate and also more true perceptions. And I think this is all. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.